Finished puja. Good. Oh. Everyone has the text schedule. Yeah. as we have cut down the tea break by 15 minutes. Because Hari Om doesn't want you to eat too much before yoga. In fact, at their ashram, they don't eat anything till 10 o'clock. And then they don't eat anything till 6 o'clock. It's very disciplined. It's wonderful. Very nice. They learn seva, discipline, yoga, very important. So, yesterday I gave a little talk, small one, baby one. And just basically thinking about today and where to go from here. So what we will do now is I also explained the opening prayer and why we chant it yesterday. So we will chant the opening prayer again and then see where this takes us. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The topic of this class, not class, what is this we are having? Retreat. Is what? Freedom from alienation. You know? Alienation from what? That is a very important question. First of all, what is alienation? You know, that is something we have to understand. Although I have a sense that everybody understands that. Sad but true. And so what is this alienation? And then, the freedom, alienation from what? And how to be free. That is basically, going to take up most of our discussions, if not directly, definitely indirectly, it will all, come together. It always does. Mm-hmm. So, the alienation is, is a feeling. Then the word alien itself is interesting. Everybody who comes from another country is called alien. Yeah, in America. Yeah. If you have a green card, what does it say on the green card? Resident alien. Resident, but also alien. Little bit contradiction. Yeah. This is what the whole thing is. And the word alien, conjures up all kinds of fearful things. Something far away, something very remote. Paroksha. Yeah. Paroksha in Sanskrit means remote. See, now you are already ahead in Sanskrit. We haven't, 2 minutes even have not gone by. Ahead in Sanskrit. So alien is paroksha. Who knows where they are from? What this, thing is. And they could be dangerous. We don't know what they are. And so the best strategy when you're afraid is to what? Is to do what? Yes, go far away. Completely. And so I'm not sure whether the word alien describes what should be my feeling in relation to that alien, or how the alien himself, herself, itself should feel in relation to me. What is this word? If you really think about the word, it's unclear what is this thing. But doesn't matter where the situation is, we still know that alien means something distant, strange, and something which is not a nice experience, correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So alienation is the noun of that. Estranged, distance, and somewhat cut off. This is what the whole thing is. There is a feeling of cut off. Parokshatvam. Oh, you just said paroksha? Now you have added tvam to it. What does that mean? Just like alien, paroksha, parokshatvam, alienation. That's all. Yeah, we also have nouns in Sanskrit, yeah. What a concept. We have nouns, verbs, everything. So, this thing is something, this is what the Upanishads' bread and butter is. This is what our holy texts, whether it be the Bhagavad Gita or whether it be the Upanishads, they specialize in resolving this feeling of estrangement and being cut off from everything. In this country, I think it is manifest more than anywhere else. If you go to the so-called, quote-unquote, developing nations, third world, whatever they call it. If you go to other countries, it is there, but not so much. You don't feel the force of this alienation or this feeling estranged from everybody that is there, from everything that is there. You don't feel that quite as much. In countries where the kinship network is much more, where there are strong community networks, kinship networks, local action committees, things like that. But still, it is very much there. In fact, we say that this is something which is not, this alienation is not necessarily a product of the contemporary craziness, the contemporary times. It was there even in the most ancient times, because Adi Shankara, talks about it. Adi Shankara talks about it in his commentaries for the Upanishad. And so that shows that this is not something time-bound. Yeah. This is not something culture-bound, even though it is much more enhanced these days and much more enhanced in Western countries. This is not culture-bound. This is not whatever we call by this alienation. It is not time-bound. It is not culture-bound. It is not bound by a specific, country, a specific time period. Nothing. It seems to be the universal experience of everyone. And when it is universal, when the problem is universal, then the solution also cannot be just temporary and just for one particular place. Solution also has to be universal. And this is where the Bhagavad Gita steps in. This is where the Upanishads step in. And in fact, this is where the whole premise of the Bhagavad Gita starts, with Arjuna crying in the battlefield. Yeah. In fact, he almost started a new river. He was crying a river. New at that time. Now it would have been ancient. A salty river of unabated tears. This is what it was. He was crying. And this alienation doesn't mean that one is, alone. He was in the middle of, what is 7 plus 11? Akshauhinis. 11 Akshauhinis. Akshauhini is a unit of a battlefield. A battle. Like a, what is that called? Regiment. Yeah, battalion, regiment, something like that. It's called Akshauhini. Your second Sanskrit word for today. Yeah. What was the first one? Ah, I'm glad that is not paroksha. I'm glad that is not paroksha. Akshauhini means a battalion, a regiment of battle. You have the cavalry, the foot soldiers, infantry, all these things, elephantry, yeah. So they had elephantries in those days, and they were going on elephants. So 11 plus 7, this is what the number of, you can imagine the number of horses. So one Akshauhini means there is a certain ratio. One elephant means there must be so many foot soldiers, so many charioteers, so many horses, etc. So the whole battlefield was full of all kinds of, people. Teeming millions of thousands of people. No, and these, we are just talking of the bipeds. They were quadrupeds. Yeah, and then they were what? All the other creepy crawlies and the flying, flying things. Although it should have been a no-fly zone because of being a battlefield, but still, all the things are flying around. Insects, mosquitoes, flies, etc. All these things, and sitting there amidst all these people, amidst this whole, what is that? A kind of a nation of things. He's feeling alienated. Yeah. He's feeling alone. How is that possible? He's feeling lonely, if not alone. He's feeling alone in his thoughts and in the way that he is feeling. He's having certain emotions. So we see now the alienation, the sense of alienation doesn't mean that you're living somewhere in Siberia, or you don't have people, or you've gone to the Arctic or the Antarctica or somewhere there. All around there's hardly a penguin to be seen. That is not what we are talking about. In fact, Arjuna, while being surrounded with his people really, and with this whole situation, feels alienated right there, right then. And so we know that. We know one more thing about alienation, in addition to what? In addition to the fact that it is universal, in addition to the fact that it is a timeless experience, a universal experience. Timeless means without beginning. Oh, without beginning also means without end, correct? Yeah? Well, then what are you doing here? That's what I should ask you. If alienation is without end, then we should put an end to this retreat right here, right now. Yeah. So somehow there is this feeling that this strange being, this alien being called alienation, this is another thing to note about alienation, that it is extremely alien to me. I don't like feeling it. That's another thing. And so this alien being, this resident alien that is residing in me, called alienation, this being has no business. I don't know when it came, but it is time for it to leave. That sense is also there, you see. And the same thing Arjuna had that sense. And sitting in the middle of the battlefield, he weeps a river of tears. Why? That is the question. Why? What is he lonely about? What is he alienated from? What is he missing in this situation? What is he trying to understand? Why is he overpowered by fear and sorrow? This is what conflict looks like. This is another thing about alienation, very funny. Alienated, I feel conflicted. Alienated means separate from everything, correct? Still there is a conflict. In fact, not only the battle is raging outside, it is a symbolic, metaphor, an allegory of what is happening within. So in the midst of this brewing conflict outside, Arjuna is directly in touch with what is happening inside him. There are two factions outside. And there are two factions within, at least two that we know of. Two factions inside. Outside we know who are they? Pandavas and Kauravas. Kauravas and Pandavas, very clear. Baddies and goodies. That's we know that. What is happening inside? What are the factions that are there inside? You know? What are they? What are the factions that are going at loggerheads within? Yes, Jiva is there. Likes raga dveshas. Jiva split into two, Ji and Va. Ji is saying do this, Va says no. Perhaps. If we look underneath the surface of everything that is coming from the room, conflict between this and that and jivas and raga and dvesha and whatnot. If you look under the surface, you see that there is a certain flow, correct? And you see him pulling away from that flow. That is the conflict. That is the loggerheads. What is the flow? The flow, unfortunately, doesn't look pretty. Yeah. Even though we have all these expressions, going with the flow, go with the flow, and all these things, this is what is called euphemizing the flow. Meaning making the flow look like a nice babbling brook that is talking baby talk in very nice ways, and you just have to walk and meander along with this brook, and that is what it means, going with the flow. And you go to any class on anything, self-improvement class, self-improvement guru will say go with the flow. Yoga teacher will of course say go with the flow. Don't resist. Yeah. Is it so easy to do? No?
Because inside I'm feeling like I'm swimming upstream.
Exactly. So it's not easy to go with the flow. First of all, what is this flow? Where is the flow? Paroksha. Like river Saraswati. In India, there was a Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati. These were the three rivers on which the banks of the ancient civilizations existed. And then Saraswati decided she'd had it, and she just went underground. I was fortunate enough to go with Swamiji to that place where the Saraswati, you hear her flow, and then you can go in this little tunnel. I went, and you can see a little trickle of this ancient river. Beautiful. Yeah. So Saraswati, underground, correct? And so likewise, the so-called flow, what flow is it? It's gone somewhere. Paroksha, not available. Not available to follow the flow because I don't know where it is, I don't know what it is. So sometimes that is the problem. And the other times what is the problem? I see it. And to me, it looks like a drainage. It doesn't look like this lovely babbling brook that I can just meander and follow and, munch some wheat grass along the way and then pick some flowers, eat them also. Nowadays people eat flowers on top of salads. Yeah, this is some new thing. New means 10 years ago perhaps. Yeah. So, munch some flowers, thereby obfuscating the difference between the quadruped and the biped, and keep going with the flow. But the flow happens to be open drainage of all kinds of, to these eyes. That's what it is looking like. It looks like open drainage where sludge is flowing without inhibition. And I'm supposed to go with it? First I need a clothespin, Those old clothespins, yeah. How am I to go with this? Why is this going like this? This is what Arjuna's situation was this. He was asked to go with the flow, meaning what? Forget the drainage, that was the Drishtanta. To fight, to go to battle. Yes. Don't get stuck on the drainage, okay? Yeah. So, that's the example, okay? Yeah. So, he was told to go fight. That was the conflict inside. What was the conflict? He didn't want to fight. He was not told to fight. In fact, he wanted to fight. He was told because he signed up to become the commander-in-chief of the army. And then what? And then he says, I am a pacifist? Come on. After the war has been declared. This is what is called dereliction from duty. And even in the United States, where there's not so much of a concept of duty, in India the duty is so binding, everything is all about duty, duty, duty. Even though that is not there, in the army, that duty, that discipline exists. Right? Yeah. So, here he himself, he was very bloodthirsty. Don't think that he was just sitting doing japa for 12 years under the tree when he was exiled. He was up to all kinds of shenanigans. I haven't used that word in a long time. It's a nice word, it's a mouthful. Yeah, he was up to all kinds of tricks. He even had a fight with Lord Shiva because he wanted the Pashupata, this, what is that called? Some kind of a missile that you throw, Astra. Yeah, he wanted that from Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva challenged him to test him. He won the test, went to heaven, where Kailasa, Shiva's heaven, and then went there. Who are we talking about? Just so that everybody is clear? Okay. Wonderful. So he went there, and he's the only one whose heaven returned. No one else we know in history. Yeah, other than Narada, but he's the only one. Comes back and then vows, because Draupadi, his wife Draupadi, who he himself cast to the wolves of the Pandava brothers to be disrobed in public. Of course, Krishna saved her, that's a different matter. But he felt so upset and annoyed and completely at sea that he wanted to avenge all those insults to his wife. And his wife was no less, Draupadi. She said, I'm not going to comb my hair. This is a dangerous situation. I mean, it's okay one day if you don't comb. But if you have long hair like the women did in India, ancient India, and you don't comb it for 12 years, this is not a nice thing. You become your head and hair becomes an self-standing ecosystem in its own right for all kinds of things to grow. This is what happens, right? And, how to live with such a person. And so, why aren't you combing your hair? And she said, look at the word bloodthirsty. She said, I will comb my hair, anointing myself with Dushasana's blood. Yeah, that will be my wonderful hair oil. Until then I will not oil my hair, or I will not, let's not talk about washing, it's a nice retreat so far, and I will not comb my hair. This is very difficult. So she herself was egging him on for the battle. Everybody, it's the whole thing on their mind was revenge, 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 revenge. Avenging this insult, avenging this disrespect. They are Kshatriyas. Kshatriyas means they come from this warring clan. That's what they are about. It's built into their, personalities. That they not only avenge their own problems, but they also avenge your problems also. If you want avenging done, call a Kshatriya. Yes. This is what it is. They are the upper crust of society, and they are avenging, they are into all this. They are warriors. They are built to fight. They are strong, hot-blooded. They cannot stand all these insults. And this person, who is this person? Arjuna, comes from this clan. And all meat eaters, ancient meat eaters, paleo diet, and and then what? Coming and that avenging instinct led him to organize the battle. When all mediation failed, he organized the battle. He organized everything. And then on the battlefield, something happened. What happened? Alienation. Alienation happened. For Arjuna, this is what happened. On the battlefield, standing right there in front of teeming millions of soldiers, he just suddenly feels like, I should not be fighting. So this is called Dharma Sankata. Dharma means the flow. We have a name for the flow. Dharma. Right now, that is what the definition of dharma is. Later on, it will be, what's that? Refined. Thank you. A little more. Dharma means the flow. Is the flow muddy? Is dharma sludgy? Is dharma like the river Saraswati hidden somewhere? Is dharma visible but full of tumultuous, full of all kinds of waves and eddies and what are those things called? Undercurrents that can just swallow me in? Rapids. What is this? Rapids, yeah? Is this dharma like that? In fact, the Dhyana Shloka of the Gita talks about this whole war with using the imagery of the river. Yeah. It talks about that. Very beautiful. Duryodhana in this river is the Avartini, the hidden current. That just like like even the sinkhole on land swallows you up. Yeah, swallows you up. Bhishma and Drona, the two elders, are the banks of this river. Bhishma Drona Tata Jayadratha Jala. Jayadratha, another warrior, is the water. Gandhara Nilotpala. Gandhara is the lotus. Good person on the side of the pond. That's why lotus. Shalyagrahavati kripena vahani. Shalya, who was fighting on the other side, on the wrong side. Grahavati, a croc. Big crocodile. Kripena vahani. Kripa is another undercurrent. Karnena velakula. Karna is these disturbed waves on the surface. Correct? Ashwathama vikarna ghora makara. Makara also is crocodile. Grahavati is also crocodile. Here, so since it is repeated, Grahavati will rename as shark. Anything that grahas. Grah means to grasp. And what kind of grasping? A grasping without letting go. That is what it is. Ashwathama, the son of Drona. These are all the warriors. Makara, alligator, crocodile. Pretending to not be there, and then suddenly it goes. I had some close encounters when I went last month to South Charleston. I went for a walk, by a kind of a river, Ashley River. Went for a walk. And I thought, they are always in the water. This was my anumanam. What is anumanam? Your third Sanskrit word for the day. What is anumanam? Yeah, my presumption. But they are in the water because that's why they are called crocodiles, alligators, whatever they are. But I was walking in between two bodies of water. You know what's going to come next. Yeah. So this side there was some kind of a swampy pond. South is full of swamps. And then this side there was the Ashley River flowing its way, very beautiful river. So I was just walking in between these two. And it was quite, not very wide, maybe 2 feet wide path. And so, and I saw here, I just saw 2 nostrils, And I said, oh, there you are. And it looked tiny. It was a baby. I said, okay, who is going to be afraid of you? You're tiny. You're even cute. No problem. But whenever there is a baby, what is not too far away? Yeah. And this mama decided to get a close look at me. She said, I'm going to see what a sannyasi looks like up close. So I can write about it in my croc blog. Yes. So, gator blog. Yeah. And therefore, she became a tail gator. Yeah, literally. Literally, she became a tail gator. So, I heard some rustling sound. She was not in the water. I'm walking merrily on the way. I heard some rustling sound in the back. I ignored it because whenever you hear a rustling sound, ignore it, okay? So I just thought it's a squirrel, a bird, whoever it is, doesn't matter. And then what she did was she overtook me from the side, had a good look, and she was at least 5 times bigger than the baby. And then went into the different body of water. So she came out of that body of water, rustled on the land a bit, and how quickly they move. Yeah. That is what Ashwatthama is likened to. Back to the story, okay? Yeah. That is what Ashwatthama is likened to. Ghora Makara. Ghora means a frightening thing. A frightening crocodile, whose intention may not be to frighten, but just by its existence, that's what it is put on earth to do, is to exhaust your karma. Yeah. Is to make you have heart trouble before your time. That is what the purpose of these, crocs and gators, that is why they exist. And so too, this Ashwatthama is a tail gator of everyone's karma. And then Duryodhana Vartini. Duryodhana is the Avartini, the undercurrent that is like a spiral that sucks you down in this dark, deep waters of what? Of this samsara, this water called samsara. But just now you said the flow is dharma. Yes, dharma, when it is not understood, manifests as samsara. So now we know one more thing, that this dharma is converted to samsara when it is not understood properly. When I greet it with fear, trepidation, anxiety, sorrow, this flow becomes samsara. So here is this horrible flow. Look at this flow that is described in the opening verses of the praise song of the Bhagavad Gita, the praise verses, dhyana shloka, the meditative verses of the Bhagavad Gita right at the beginning. This is what it is described, that this horrible river peppered with sharks and alligators, those triangle things that chase you around. Yeah. Sharks and alligators. And even the banks are not safe. Bhishma and Drona. This kind of a river, this kind of a flow, a sludgy flow, a scary flow, an obnoxious flow, a difficult flow. Seems like that. This kind of a difficult flow, how to go with it? How to cross this flow? How to move along with this flow? And the last line gives away how to move with it. Sotirna khalu pandavai rananadi. Sa rananadi uttirna. Sa means she, this flow. Flow is always feminine. This river, this dangerous river, Uttirna, was successfully crossed over. Khalu indeed was crossed over. By who? Kauravas. No. Kauravas were populating the river. By the Pandavas. How? Because they were in a boat. Oh, now the flow doesn't sound too bad. Why didn't you tell this before? You made it as though we were just all by ourselves and this horrible river of all kinds of samsara and everything. Sludge, drainage, everything. All we need is a boat. That's all. We need a ferry. We need a boat. A boat of protection. A moat of protection. A boat of protection. And this boat is chauffeur driven. It comes along with the what? Boat person, we should say, but here boatman, because we are talking of Lord Krishna. Sa uttirna khalu pandavaihi rananadi. Rananadi means this battle river. This river of the battle, the battlefield, was successfully crossed over. By who? By the Pandavas. And the last, but really the best part is left for the last one. Quietly it's inserted, Kaivartakaha Keshavaha. Because, why was it successfully crossed over? Because the boatman happened to be Keshava. Yeah, Keshava is the name of Bhagavan. When the boatman is Bhagavan, that means what? You sit back, relax and enjoy the crocodiles. Yeah. You can, you can see their beauty. You can keep gazing at them. You can see their beauty. I was able to do that. And you can see actually how harmless they are. From a safe distance. And that safe distance is important because if you make them feel threatened, they're going to come after. That's what it is. So, therefore what? Therefore, I get to the place where I can call the crocodiles cute in their own way. I can call them beautiful. I don't want to bring one home and keep it, but in its own place, swasthane vishishyante, in their own place, they are glorious. I saw one crocodile there, alligator actually, which was which had gone into the swamp and emerged right where all the algae were on the surface. So it had painted itself a bright green, top to toe, to the last scale on the tail, which was bright green. And then appropriately it went and lay on the grass. You couldn't tell. This is Bhagavan. This is the beauty of the whole thing. And there is something to appreciate. So even this horrible, turbulent waters, which is how sometimes the flow manifests. The flow is not always beautiful. Even though we keep saying, go with the flow, go with the flow, go with the flow, go with the flow. Flow is not always beautiful. But really speaking, the flow is always what it is. Beautiful, ugly, wonderful, not so nice. They are value judgments placed by who? The Ji or the Va? Jiva? By the Jiva. One more Sanskrit word. Jivati. The one that keeps on surviving. Never comes to an end. Is called Jiva. This individual. Yesterday we had a very nice imagery, right? What was that? Huh? What was that? What was the imagery of the Jiva?
The mouth.
Ah, the Jiva is like the
Runway.
cat walking on the runway of samsara, each time in a new dress. This is what it is. So this Jiva never comes to an end, just changes costumes. The costumes happens to be a body suit, that's all. A suit called the body. Along with the mind it comes, the mind comes for free. Free? Yeah, thank God. So don't worry about thinking. Think. Mind is given for free. Body comes along with the mind, a suitable mind. And so this Jiva is adrift and not able to follow the flow. Why? Because of, we talked about this yesterday also. Because of the inability to see the flow is what is. Whenever we bring in value judgments, this is good, this is not good, this is great, I love it, I hate it, this is awful, don't bring this near me. All these are value judgments. Value judgments come from the Jiva itself, some from the culture in which the Jiva is occupying a particular culture. Value judgment comes from that culture. What else? The value judgment comes from the familial upbringing. Let's all decide to hate this person. Why? What has that person done to us? Nothing. But their grandfather did something to our grandfather. So let's all decide to hate this person. But why? Because if we hate this person together, that means we love each other. What kind of a logic is this? It's called family logic. Coming from the feudal times. Remember in the word feudal, the noun is feud. Okay? Let's not forget that.
Holding a grudge.
So, this is the whole thing. This is the fantastic thing is that certain of these ragadveshas are picked up in the familial, this whole, yesterday we talked about the need to belong. Otherwise one will be longing. Without a sense of belonging, one will be longing. This is what the whole thing is. So in order to belong, one will do anything. One will do anything. This need to belong is the most dangerous thing if it is uninterrogated. Because one compromises one's values because of this need. No, but it's a need, I have to address it. Is it a need to belong? Yes, it's a need. I want to belong, I want to be included, I want to be thought of, I want to be part of something. Therefore, I don't mind hating the grandson of someone because, that means I'll belong in this family. This is something to be looked at. Is this need? This need is universal. That we saw. To be included, to not be alienated is to belong. To belong, is this need real? That is what we have to look at. Is this need real? Real means it should be there all the time. That is what real means. It cannot be negated. In sleep, do you suffer from a need to belong? No, until I slept, I was lonely. No, I'm not talking of until you slept. I had a dream that I was all very lonely. I'm not talking of the dream. I'm talking of just sleep. In sleep, whether in class or at home, whenever that may occur. Do you feel lonely? Do you feel like you're not belonging? You're not included? Yes, no, show some signs of life, it's okay.
Not in a dream, but during the day, it's like the need to be needed.
No, in the sleep. I'm talking of in sleep. In sleep, do you feel that you need to belong? Are you aware? Let me put it this way. Are you aware of the feeling of the need to belong in sleep? Okay? So what kind of reality is this that goes away in sleep? And the first thought upon waking up, I'm lonely. Huh? So this, what kind of a reality is? This is not reality. If it comes and goes, then it is not reality because that's not our definition of real. Real means it should be there forever. That is what real means. Real means it should not be negatable. That is what real means. So this is eminently negatable. Oh, that's good news in a way. Why is it good news? Because that means this need to belong is not real. Oh, that means it is unreal? Yes?
No.
I'll say yes. Yes? I beg to disagree. So, yes, it is unreal. I'll represent those people who are saying yes. So, yes, it is unreal. It's unreal? Yes? Then what are you doing here? Why should we have this retreat? The same question that was asked 3 minutes after into the class, we can ask again. If it is unreal, this feeling need not be removed, right? This feeling of alienation, this feeling of I need to be included, I need to belong, I'm unwanted, I'm not belonging, I'm not included, I'm alone, I'm lonely. Nobody loves me, nobody understands me. All those are the children of this feeling. They are the second generation, the third generation. Children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, etc. So if all this is real, then it cannot be removed, correct? Real means it is here to stay. If it is unreal, then what is the problem? It need not be removed. Removing it will be like Lady Macbeth washing her hands. She had OCD. Yeah. From the guilt, from engineering the assassination of the king who was her brother-in-law so that her husband could become the king. Very crafty and ambitious lady. And then after that what? Everything turned on her. Because she was roaming around the walls of the palace saying, please give me some soap. Please. My hands are full of blood. And where was the blood? Nowhere. In her own Psyche was the blood. So nobody could help her. Why? Because this was not an objective problem. There was nothing to wash off. Correct? Because really there was no blood. So not even the best French milled soap would have helped her feel clean, because what she needed was the soap that could get rid of her guilt. That is what it is. But here is something which is very nice. The soap that gets rid of the guilt has to lather nicely, has to have a good smell to cover up perhaps, or eliminate the guilt. First cover up and then eliminate. Correct? So there is no such soap, because the soap only takes care of the dirt that is visible. This guilt is visible only to herself, because she knows what she has done. She knows the cause of her guilt, and she is suffering within. You see, this is a very interesting thing. And here too, this alienation, even though I said it is universal, the need to belong, the need to feel included, the feeling of being cut off from everybody and everything, the need to keep on manufacturing connections in order to feel connected. This is universal, but it is not something objective. If it is not objective, what is it? Subjective. Meaning, it is subject to negation. New definition of subjective. Yeah, it is subject to negation. Why? Because it is subjective. It is my own reality. It is not in keeping with the reality of what is. Why? Because it is negated in sleep. It is my own reality. Inside, even in a room full of people, I feel nobody is looking at me. Yesterday we were talking also about the angst of the, what is this, holiday season. Holiday season, there is a special angst. One has what is called the let me in, let me out syndrome. Yeah. First, let me in, I want to be included. What do you mean you're not inviting me for Thanksgiving? I have to be included. You have to invite me. After that, what? Oh my God, I can't stand any of you. What am I doing here? Why did I come? This is, we have an expression, it's like hot ghee, This person, took a sip of hot ghee. He thought it was tea or something, but it was hot ghee. And ghee is actually hotter than it feels, because it's fat. And then he said, oh, he couldn't say, but he indicated that there was hot ghee in the mouth. And they said, spit it out, don't burn your mouth. No, too expensive. Okay, swallow it. Get some calories out of it. Get some tejas, some ojas, some energy to do yoga. Swallow it. No, too hot to swallow, it will sear down the throat. So the person is suffering, cannot spit it out, cannot swallow it. This is the situation. This is the situation. At the holiday reunion. This is what it is. Can't leave, can't stay. This is the whole situation. And so to hear, because this is what we are talking about is not part of the objective reality. The objective reality, meaning the flow, dharma that is there, that I'll talk about a lot more, is what is. This is how it is. And me, the subject, is put in a situation where I have no choice but to deal with the objective reality. I have no choice. No, I will not deal. That is also a choice. Correct? If you will not deal, you will incur all kinds of problems. If you just don't wake up out of bed, if you decide, I'm not getting out of bed forever, then what will happen? The muscles will atrophy. There was one such person. It was so sad. The person was somewhere in China. It was so sad. His girlfriend left him. And he was just a normal fellow going to work and everything. Girlfriend left him. He could not get over the sorrow. And he was so sad that he just stayed in bed and ate. Once in a while he would get up and get some food. And in China, I think there is some way you throw a basket down with some money. In India also you do that. And they fill it up with bread and then you just hoist the basket up. This is what he started to do. He grew and grew and grew. 750 pounds. Pretty soon the bed broke. He was sleeping on the floor. Could not move a muscle. Then of course he had a heart attack naturally. This is waiting to come because he's just eating, not moving, nothing. And then they had to, first they took out the door, couldn't bring him out. Then they tried to take out the window next to the door and the wall in between, a small piece of wall. Still couldn't bring him out. Then they took out another piece. And then, and the fire engine came with a crane from this side. They showed it all. And then they took him out. Unfortunately, he didn't survive. He made it to the hospital, but after a few days he passed away. What a life, right? To live in this kind of a denial. Because if I'm not in tandem, if I'm not in sync with the flow, with what is, and that we will talk about that more. If I'm not in tandem, in flow with what is, in sync with what is, then there are only two options. What are they? I am in denial about it, which is a passive resistance, or I am actively going against it, which is an active resistance. Those are the only two options. I have no choice, but because I have been put in this flow. This is the flow, I have been put in it. My parentage is one example of the flow. And, certain other things, this many siblings, this kind of a schooling, this kind of a religious background, this kind of a cultural background, this kind of a nationality, all this is part of this flow. This is what has come, this is my little flow, because this whole huge flow has to include me and my life, right? And so how I negotiate this flow, that is the definition of either success or failure of my life according to the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita's definition of success is not accumulating lots of things or putting down other people and getting ahead in life. It's not about money, degrees, some kind of, Mercedes. It's not about getting things, getting ahead, fulfilling my desires. That's not what the definition of success in the Bhagavad Gita is. The definition of success in the Bhagavad Gita is how deftly I'm able to negotiate this flow. That is when I have grown as a person. More about this at 11 o'clock. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadagya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Yeah, Hari Om and Nina have come from Ashland. They'll be offering yoga in a little while. and we will come back at